So you guys know that I play pranks on Chris all the time, right? And so literally, I've been messing with Chris for the past 3 days, and he hasn't slept and has been really nervous and everything like that. I have to say, I actually planned nothing for you, man.
I knew it.
Just want to say good luck.
I hate
Congrats.
you so much.
Have fun, all right?
What did I say?
Have fun.
That's the worst prank of all. You know, they put an ad in Craigslist asking for a monkey that throws poop. Yeah, that's what I was expecting, was a poop throwing monkey. No poop throwing monkeys, so don't say yes. I'm sorry? No, yeah, I got, okay. Oh boy. After all of that, nothing. Okay, let's get started. What am I waiting for? Can I take this off? Can I do this? Is this okay? My voice is going from lack of sleep and stress. Thank you, Dave. We're good? Okay. A lot of people here. Thanks for showing up. So the topic today that I'm talking about is nonverbal human hacking. So we're going to go through what nonverbal communications are. And then I'm going to talk about a little bit of the psychology of how we can actually use that to influence other people. So hopefully I'm not too boring. If I am, you can throw stuff. If you have questions, feel free to ask questions at any point in time. You know, it doesn't have to wait to the end. If I'm saying something that doesn't make sense or you don't agree with, let's talk about it. First thing I like to establish is what I define as social engineering, which is any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. Excuse me. I define it very broad and general, mainly because I think social engineering is not just the malicious stuff that we hear about on the internet or that we talk about all the time, but it can be including things like your therapist, your parents, your kids, anybody that influences you to take an action could be considered using social engineering skills or influence skills. Particularly, though, in this talk, we're talking about using those skills in a nonverbal way. So we're talking about the ability to change the perception of what a person considers to be reality. This is Dave. This is Dave loving lemons. Dave still here? Dave, you here? Or did you have to run? Too bad. I got some good pictures of Dave. I really expected a poop-throwing monkey, so there's some pretty embarrassing pictures of Dave in this slideshow, because I honestly expected a poop-throwing monkey on the stage here. There's still time, great, yeah. I'm looking, no poop-throwing monkey. Okay, so there was a nice bit of research done out of a university in California, and they came up with these statistics. There's a bunch of different ones on the net, but they all seem to fall around this area, where 7% of communication is the words that we say, 38% is our tone, our accent, our vocal parts of us, and 55% is our nonverbal. So 55% being exactly what makes up everything that we don't say is how we communicate. It's probably a good reason to explain why emails suck at explaining emotion, right? And why arguments happen so much through email and IM. You say something in your head, I mean, this happens to me all the time. I say something and in my head, I really mean it nice, but someone else is reading it, it sounds totally sucky. And so it's because we can't, that nonverbal communication, that 55% of how we communicate can't exist through the internet. You want proof of this? What's he saying? Right? Right? It doesn't take much to see. He's kind of bored. How about this? What's she saying? Right? She's pretty angry, right? We don't have to guess that. How about, I mean, it doesn't take much to see that Dave is not angry like the girl there, but he's pretty happy. I don't know what just happened to him. Well, I do, but I'm not going to talk about that here at this speech. So it's not appropriate, and there's children here. So we're going to talk a little bit. I have to go quick because we only have like 55 minutes or so, and Dan's going to throw things at me if I run over time. So we're going to go through all aspects of nonverbals as quick as we can, talk about what they are, because then we want to get to the good stuff about how do we use that to influence other people. So the first is the feet and the legs and the torso. We're going to kind of group all them together. There was a nice piece of research done, this guy, Desmond Morris. I'm going to highlight some of the important areas. He says that our feet his belief is that our feet communicate exactly what we think. How do they do that? Is because we're so focused on everything from the torso up, our hands, our face, that we kind of don't really think about our feet when we're in a conversation. You want proof of this? Guys, next time you approach a girl at a bar and you come to her full force like this and she's facing this way, what is that saying? Her feet are saying where she wants to go. She's not interested in you. And if we had time, I got a great video I showed in the class this week of a pickup artist, and he actually approaches a girl, and he starts, and her first thing, her feet were facing totally away from him. After he talked to her for a few minutes, what happens? Her legs and her feet turn around. They point. Your feet are actually indicators of pointing where your interest lies. If you want to see this in reality, go downstairs tonight and later on observe a couple of people talking, especially people of the opposite sex, and watch how their feet are pointing. You can tell who's interested, who's not. You can tell when people are ready to leave. Take a notice of this next time you're talking to someone in the hallway. If you think they really aren't interested in you, take a look at where their feet are pointing. Now, this is a hard thing to do in social engineering because it's not really comfortable to be staring at someone's feet when you walk up to them, right? So doesn't really give off confidence when you walk up. So how are you today? Give me your passwords. So we need to, we need to use this in a different way, but we can really talk about it with where our torsos are, where their hips are pointing, and taking a notice of where feet are pointing. The good point for us in part of influence is where we point our feet. Okay, so there's a couple different points of this that we need to keep in mind. First, when we approach somebody, especially guys, okay, like I'm not a small person. So if I approach a female and I approach full force on, my feet are pointing at her. Yeah, well, I got someone right here saying it. It's scary, right? She said I'm a little intimidating. So if I come up like this and I use a phrase, hey, I just want to ask you a quick question. This does not give her the sense that I have a quick question. I am boxing her in. I am cornering her. Where if I say to her, hey, I just got a quick question, I'm now giving her the non-threatening pose. I'm saying, this is my direction. I'm not heading in your direction. If you can just answer my question real quick. This kind of nonverbal behavior influences her to want to answer my question. It's just a goofy picture of feet. The torso, yeah, I thought I had something important to say there, but nothing really great. So the torso is very similar to the feet, okay? Now, the torso, of course, tied into the feet, tied in right there. Wherever we face with our torso also is the same indicator of our feet. It's where our direction is. Although it's a little harder to control in different directions, right? Our feet could be facing here, and we can still be like this. We can still be facing you. So our torso is more of an indicator. But also with leaning, which way we lean. Take a look at this picture. Who likes who? George is saying, don't forget me, please. Don't forget me. Look, I'm still here, right? And we can see that, the lean, the torso is telling us something that he's saying. He doesn't want to be out of the picture. He wants to be remembered. I'm here, right? Take a look at this one. This is great. Who likes who? Okay, so Clinton's like, yeah, I'm not touching anybody. George is still leaning into Obama. Obama's saying, nah, I'm going to get closer to George Sr. I don't like you. And Carter's like, where's lunch? So, I mean, it's, you can just kind of see like where the torso pointing where what they're saying about each other and their viewpoints of each other. Very clear to see once it's pointed out. Here's a really, really great one. Who does Bill like more? Bill's like, I don't even know if this guy's here. He doesn't remember him. But the hot Asian, yeah, he remembers her. You can also, another point is hand placement. You can't see Bill's hand behind the guy. He's probably got this like finger thing going like this. This shows like total lack of interest. But look where his hand is on her. It's like total grip of the side. So a lot of nonverbal communications going on here with President Clinton. What is Dave thinking? Oh my God, Dave just loves lemons. It's like unbelievable. He has a fetish with lemons. I mean, look at his torso. He's leaning into the lemons. His arm is around the lemons. It's like Bill Clinton with that girl. It's amazing how much he loves lemons. Yeah, well, his feet were pointing towards me because he has a lust for me, as you can see. But he takes it out on the lemons. He really does. He takes it out on the lemons. So let's talk about the hands. Hands are a big one. I should have not pulled this out of the stand so I could put this back real quick. The hands are indicators of multiple things. So high-level mental processing of our hands. We use our hands for gestures, right? Gestures indicate what we're thinking. A lot of times, if we can't think of a word, we're doing this, and maybe the person we're talking with, they'll try to help us guess a word. This means nothing, right? This means absolutely nothing. There's no sign language where this actually means something, but it means something in our speech. right? Every gesture that we do actually has a meaning. Well, they also could be illustrators, touching. There was a nice article that Eric wrote on our website about the power of non-sexual touch. Touching is a very strong indicator, a very strong influencer. Thumb displays, all these things, we're like the creatures that have opposable thumbs, right? So this makes us feel big and powerful. And according to biologists, displaying these makes us feel big and powerful. Okay, here's a couple shots of that. This is called steepling. Steepling you'll see very, very common in people who feel, dude, I love you, but I thought you were going to have a poop-throwing monkey, so I got a bunch of pictures of you. I really thought, so I put, well, you left. You should stay for my speech. I thought you loved me. I thought there was going to be a poop-throwing monkey or a donkey or male strippers or something. I didn't know. They're tasteful pictures. They're tasteful. Okay, hang on. Let me just go back a slide and I'll show you. Oh. Yeah, you see? You see? He likes lemons, I told you. I use this about, torso movement, showing how much you love lemons. What was that? No. Okay, so back to steepling. Unlike me right now, not feeling any confidence, because I don't know what Dave's going to do, someone who does feel confidence tends to steeple their hands. The picture over there on the right with Donald Trump, it's a low steeple. Now, I have a great video that at some point, if we have time afterwards, anyone's interested, I can show it to you, but it's Nancy Grace. She's like the shock news reporter. She really lambasted this poor weather guy who was talking about the tsunami in Japan. And the whole time, they started the argument, he started doing this, and through the argument, he was going like this. And before the thing, it was like almost roostering. The guy was up here, and he's like, I'm telling you what I mean, and it was like so high, it looked like it was uncomfortable. But he was trying to set his dominance in the argument, saying, I know what I'm saying. I know that I'm right. And of course, she wasn't getting that. The thumb displays, that middle picture, this is something you usually see in high-level management. People are saying, I'm important. My thumb is out. Creatures that are important have thumbs that are opposable. So I am important. That's what that thumb display is saying. You want to see proof of that. Look at the guy there on, what would that be, your left, right? So, yes? Yeah. So he's some big wig, some big corporate type of guy, and he stands there and you can kind of see the chin is up, the chest is out, and the thumb is displayed. Okay, the other couple hand displays that we see here with Clinton and Palin, this is something we have not yet seen in politics besides President Clinton. This is a very open gesture, right? Think about the difference in between saying something like, hey guys, can we get along here? Or, hey, we need to get along here. There's a whole difference in both the body and the facial expressions with the hand gestures. The fact that he had to be trained in order to keep doing this because it was something that really people endeared to him. He felt very open when he spoke because he spoke like this. It was like kind of a welcoming. When you welcome someone, you do this, right? You don't do this. You don't say, hey, come here. You go, come here, right? So when you have your palms up, a palm up display says, I'm welcoming. Come with me. I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to invite you to be part of this group, part of this tribe with me. Let's move on to some others. The neck. This is a great one. So when you probably saw me doing this on stage right before the speech, when guys do this, this is stress indicator. This is we rub our neck when we're stressed, and we rub the back of our neck. When girls, I can't ever say this word right, as if I have it printed there so I can read it, the suprasternal notch. It's this little notch right here in the neck. Guys, this is a great thing for you. You go to a club, a bar, whatever, you walk up to a girl, she does this, you're doing something wrong. She doesn't like you. Okay, this is a very high stress indicator for a female. This is saying that she either finds you kind of a little repulsive or she's not interested in you, or, yeah. Dave, every time you come home and your wife is doing this, you know why. You know why, Dave, okay? Yeah. So it's keeping that gag reflex. I don't want to, I just saw Dave, So the neck is a very good key indicator of stress. The good part for us as social engineers is the neck is very visible when we're talking to targets. So we can clearly use that. Now, this is another indicator. We're going to get to this at the end. When we're talking to somebody, let's say we come into an office building and a guy is standing there like this, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's stressed about us or even things that we say. It means that he's stressed. That should alter our approach to him because now we know that he's maybe under a little stress. So if we come in and we're speaking really fast like I am now, or we come in high tense, we come in with the chin up, it's probably going to add to his stress, and it's going to reduce our chances of it being able to influence him effectively. So our voice should get lower, our chin should go down, our posture should be a little softer, and of course our feet and torso should not be head on with him. It reduces that stress indicator, lets him know we're not a threat, we're not going to add to any of his stress. Let's talk about the mouth. Key indicators of the mouth. You know, this is really interesting about President Obama. Before his first big meeting after he got elected, he never had this lip compression. And then as soon as he went into that first big meeting, I was thinking some big financial thing, all of a sudden every picture of him looks just like this. And this really tight lip press is a big stress indicator. It also means that we're not only are we having a lot of stress, but there may be even some anger involved. We may also be saying there's something I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. Okay, lip puckering, or let's say lip clenching, we'll talk about puckering in a minute, is a good indicator that the person at the other end is really feeling something negative. In a social engineering engagement, if we see that, we need to reevaluate our approach, make sure that it's not us that's causing that, or use that to our advantage if we see lip puckering. All these pictures indicate someone in a high stress level. What is she saying? What's she saying? Who wants to take a guess? Does she look interested in the person who's speaking to her? Go ahead. What is she saying? Kids are great. Okay, excellent. So you see, listen, this is how hard it is sometimes to just look at nonverbals. So the little girl says that she looks happy, and when you look at her at first, you would see that, wouldn't you? She's got a smile, she looks pretty, she looks happy. Let's take a look, though. Where are her legs pointing? Away from the guy who is now speaking to her. How about the smile on her face? What indicates the difference between a real and a fake smile? Who knows? I'm sorry? Eyes. Very good. Oh, you were in my class. You cheated. Okay, so the eyes, right? From here down, it's all fake. And if you want proof on that, look up, I'm going to say it wrong, so where's the guy who corrected me? Duchenese. There's a French scientist back in there. Duchenne, thank you. Who corrected me? Raise your hand. I love you. There's a French scientist who did this research late 1800s. They basically took a prisoner that had no rights, and they drilled some holes in his face, and they put these little wires to these muscles in his face, and then they put it up to a battery, and they shocked him, and they made him smile, real smile. Like his eyes got all squinty and his face got all big, and there's all these weird pictures of him on the internet, this guy getting electrocuted and smiling. But it does prove something, okay? It proves that smiling is all muscular, so we can control it. It's not something that's uncontrollable. So this means that when we look at a picture like this and we see that her face is not involved, her eyes are not involved, she's really not pleased. Instead of a smile, what kind of looks like lip compression a little bit, right? She looks a little bit uncomfortable. Look at her hand indicators, her hands folding over one another. They almost look like they're a little gripping. She does not look open at all. There's no openness in this picture. We can take a look at this and say this person definitely does not look comfortable with someone who's approaching her. Lip puckering is another indicator of something totally different. Instead of stress, it's I have something to say, but I don't know if I want to say it. I'm not sure if I can actually answer the question you are asking me. The words are stuck behind my teeth, and I don't want them to come out. The one I love to use is the middle one, that Nancy Perdermo. She was being interviewed here by the news, so if you don't know her story, her husband was a firefighter down in Florida, and he was traveling up to Maine supposedly to help friends, and he disappeared. And in this press interview, she was saying, we've been praying every night to God, hoping that he comes home. His kids miss him. Well, the dude was dealing drugs up to Maine. Someone whacked him and dumped his body in the woods. Everyone thinks that she knew. But this was her major facial expression through the whole 18-minute interview. Every time she was asked a question about him or her feelings for him or if he was having an affair, this was the expression she got. Now, this wasn't an indicator of guilt. No one knew at the time. But there was something that she knew that she didn't want to say. Okay, and this was, of course, proven later. All these are the same. Another one, facial expression with the eyes. Eye blocking. Anytime we block the eyes, whether it's closing our eyes really tight like this, or sometimes you see people do this a lot, or they even cover their eyes like this, or maybe they even do this. What we're saying with that kind of a nonverbal communication is there's something here that I don't really want to see. Closing our eyes actually makes us not picture it. Or there's something out here I don't want to see, and closing my eyes blocks me from it. Some kind of physical pain, some kind of psychological pain that I'm trying to block. This is the nonverbal communication of it. Take an example. Look at Dave. I mean, this is a great example of eye blocking. You know, there's something that he saw, probably was my awesomeness, and he just couldn't handle it. So he was looking away. That's what it looks like in that picture to me, at least. And he's not here to defend himself, so we're going to go with that. Okay, so that brings us all up to the face now, micro-expressions. I wish I had another hour so we can go through all of this, because this is really the powerful stuff. This is the stuff that I love. Micro-expressions, for those of us who might not know, are 1/25th of a millisecond muscular responses to emotional triggers. That is the scientific definition of what a micro-expression is. Against any belief that you might have, micro-expressions are not controllable. The expressions that are controllable are macro-expressions. So the ones that we want you to see are the ones that are controllable. But for micro-expressions, it's a trigger to an emotional response. Something I see, something I hear, something I think about, something I touch, something I imagine. Any one of those things triggers a neuron in my brain that sends electricity down to my face, and it triggers multiple muscles that causes one of these expressions. Although they are here in a form that we can look at them, micro-expressions happen between 1/25th and I think it's like a quarter and a half of a second time frame, and they flash on the face and they indicate the true emotion that someone is thinking, so the true emotion that someone is feeling. Now we say, how can you possibly learn to see that? I mean, 1/25th of a second happens fast. Well, I can honestly tell you that there are ways to learn how to notice these, and of course you're not able to decipher what someone is exactly feeling, or why they're feeling it, I should say, but you can decipher what someone is feeling. You can decipher the emotion that they're feeling by noticing certain parts of these expressions. And what does this mean for us as social engineers? Hey, Jason. This is a picture of the brain. Let me see if I blew it up here. No, I didn't. Okay. So this is a picture of the brain, and these two areas that are circled, these are areas of our brain that scientists have found something they're calling mirror neurons. This is a fascinating piece of research. If you're really into this kind of stuff, I suggest looking it up. If you can't find it, email me. I'll give you my email address, please, and I'll get you the research study. So this group of doctors and scientists got together, and they found in these two areas of the brain that there's something called a mirror neuron. Now, what's a mirror neuron? A mirror neuron is a neuron that fires when a person acts and when the person observes the same action being performed by another human being. So this is only between humans. This is the unique part of it. So if you see a monkey, a dog, or anything else having some kind of what you consider an emotional expression, it does not trigger any kind of mirror neuron in your brain. But when another human face, and they say that this can explain why yawning is contagious. Exactly. Someone just did that to me. Thank you. If I yawn, I'm going to throw something at you. But that when we see people yawn, that's part of one of the triggers that can happen and why we might yawn back. Also, they did this unbelievable study. I really love, this is a study that I have. I bought this, so I will pass this around if you like this. It was done at a northern university. Let me just show you the picture of this guy. So what they did is they took volunteers, about 40 or 50 volunteers, and they put this helmet on them. This is called an EKG helmet. So it registers electronic signals from the brain and muscular movements throughout the brain and the face. And then they took 50 people. 25 of them saw a 20-minute video of happy things, non-human. So things like beaches, puppies, sunshine, rainbows, all kinds of things that make normal people happy. And they registered their neurological response as well as their muscular response. As expected, those 25 people they were smiling, they were happy, they felt good after watching the video, they felt relaxed. Then they took the next 25 people and the same exact video, but inside the video, every minute or every 90 seconds, they put a 1/25th of a second frame of a human face displaying a negative micro-expression, something like fear, anger, or sadness. After the 20-minute video, they interviewed those people, they registered their EKG and all their electrical responses, and what they found was that those people, they did not understand why, because they didn't register the pictures, but they felt sad, or they felt angry, or they felt afraid. They didn't know why. They didn't know why they felt this, but they felt all these things because of those pictures that were shown on their screen, and of course because of mirror neurons. So mirror neurons work when you see a human face, it triggers the electrical response that mirrors the thing that you saw. You ever wonder why you could be feeling a little down, you get in a group of people that are laughing and happy? What happens? We feel a little up. It changes our perspective. Okay, so they did this study. Let me go back to this page. What I really, really love is this result, the ending comment here by Dr. Poller. He says, the ability to detect microexpressions may allow an observer to be more empathetic and sense someone's true intentions or motivation. This is a key point for us as social engineers. Why? Because that means that we can influence our targets by displaying emotion on our face to a non-extreme degree to make them more empathetic. What emotion makes people feel empathy? Who wants to take a guess? Sadness. Sadness makes people feel empathy. Sadness and empathy are linked. This is why this is going to be very difficult, but if we practice it, this really, really works. I'm telling you, I've been doing research on this for the last year and a half, and it's amazing how well it works. So you can't walk into a business and be like, you know, I'm sad, please, can you help me with your passwords, right? I mean, they're going to be like, what's wrong with this guy, right? You know, it's you know, they're going to think something's messed up. So you have to learn the muscular movements for sadness. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Yes, the name of the study. The name of the study is Neural and Behavioral Evidence for Effective Priming from Unconsciously Perceived Emotional Facial Expressions and the Influence of Trait Anxiety. Whew. That's the name of the study. Yeah, I can blow that up later on if you want to write that down, or you can find it online. Yes, ma'am? Yeah, so the question, for those of you who didn't hear it, is what I said about walking up and being boo-hoo. How do you feel, how do I feel about that being portrayed by women, like women using the sympathy card? Everything I'm saying right now is towards guys. Women throw it out the window. Listen to anything. You can come up and just say, oh, please help me, give me your passwords, and we'll do it because we're stupid, you know? I mean, it's just, yes, winning, exactly. It's just ridiculous how good, in my opinion, women are at social engineering just because you're women. I mean, it's probably not that easy, but the sympathy card with women works better. Why? I mean, I'll tell you, this year at the SECTF, what we saw, which was totally amazing, anytime a woman got on the phone and used the four magic words, can you help me? Was anyone at the SECTF this year in DEF CON? Okay, a couple of people. Were you there for this call? This girl gets on the phone. I'm going to say girl because she was young. She was maybe 18 or 19. Megan, I think you might even be here. She gets on the phone and she asked the person on the phone, can you help me pick a computer for my college courses? This guy literally spent 7 minutes telling her why he was the best person in the universe to help her find a computer. I am not kidding. He actually went through, not only did I go to college, but I helped all my friends pick computers for their college courses. I know everything about these. I mean, this guy was going on and on, proving that he had the biggest muscles. He's going to help her save the day. It was amazing. It was like, we were sitting there. I'm like, wow, that really does work, you know? I wish I was a woman, you know? I don't really mean that. Dave, I hope you didn't hear that. Don't tweet that, anybody. Yeah, no, wait, what did I just do? I negated the frame. Everyone's tweeting that. Awesome. So, I don't mean, sarcastically, I don't mean you have to throw all these out the window. But depending on the pretext. So your pretext question, excellent. If your pretext is sympathy, I'll tell you where this worked for me. I'll give you a quick story. I wasn't going to do this, but it worked really well. I went into a business once that I had to, one of the target goals for the pen test was to get them to insert a USB key. And other attempts had failed. So my pretext was going to be that I was there for a job interview. I had a bunch of resumes in a folder. When I was coming down the road, a cat ran out in front of my car. I hit the cat, killed it, and I spilled my coffee all over the resumes. And I'm really sad because I love cats. God. Anyhow, I really hate cats, but I had to say I love them. So, because I like dogs, I didn't want to be really sad. I love dogs. So this cat ran out. I killed it, but I slammed on my brakes. My coffee fell out of my hand, and it spilled all on my resumes. Can she help me out and just please print my resume off of this USB key? And of course I wasn't crying. That would have been a little freakish, I think, a big guy in there. Oh my God, I killed a cat. But I came in and I had sadness on my face. It worked really well, right? She had empathy. She was like, oh, you poor thing. Do you want some water or coffee or anything? Oh, I would love some coffee after you insert that USB key, so, yeah, and it worked quite well, the whole sympathy thing. I was just fortunate to get a cat lover and not one of those, oh, I hate those damn cats. I'm glad you ran it over. So it does work. Now, how do we do this though? So sadness, the micro expression for sadness is the eyebrows come down, but they don't squinch. This is more anger. So the eyes come down, the eyelids will droop a little, and now in extreme cases, the lips get turned down. Now, this is the part that presents a problem for us if we're trying to present ourselves as someone confident. So how can we build empathy, building that kind of, using these mirror neurons to help someone be more empathetic towards our need? Well, again, we talked a lot. I can't go through it all right now, but I can get on tangents. I need like a couple hours for this. But we talked about different personality types this week in the class. And certain people, like myself, I tend to be a very strong, dominant personality. You walk into a building, you're very confident about what you're going to do. This is the wrong display, right? Chest up, chin up. This does not say, I'm a sad little person, please help me. This says, let me in the building because I'm going to get in the building, right? And this is not the way you want to display it. So we lower ourselves a little. And I don't mean too much, right? If you come walking in like this, now you're deformed. So you have to lower yourself a little, especially if you're a big guy like me. You have to lower yourself. So your shoulders come down, your voice gets lower, right? This is what happens when we're sad. Our voice gets a little lower. And our eyes maybe come down, so we show a little humility. And when we come in, and we can even smile, right? We can even smile. We can say, hey, just coming in. I'm supposed to do an IT audit today. Just wondering if I can take a few minutes around your warehouse here, right? And we come in, and with this kind of a body posture and this kind of a voice posture, what happens is the person at the other end begins to feel the emotion that we're trying to display because of mirror neurons. And I can't tell you how well it works. It works amazingly well. But what it means is practicing these things, especially if they're not within your personality traits, which I'm key number one, saying they're not within my personality traits. So you have to really practice this, because then if you get in the door, what happens next is you get excited. And when you get excited, what happens? Everything tenses up again, right? So when you don't want to go from being this guy to being, yes, thank you for letting me in. Now I'm going to stick this USB everywhere. So you have to keep that posture. Yes, sir. Practice. Excellent. Okay, so he asked, how do you practice? Mirror. A mirror is the perfect way to practice. First, you got to practice these micro expressions. You got to practice the macro version of the micro expressions in a mirror until you get them perfect. Till you can really, to tell you the truth, it's kind of a hard thing to say to do for too long, because Dr. Ekman did a study in his book, Telling Lies, that actually reverses the role of micro expressions, that if you cause yourself to make the expression, you will cause yourself to feel the emotion. So this is crazy, that our emotional state, the neurons will actually backfire, right? So we make ourselves do the macro expression. Our brain says, oh, he's feeling sad, make him sad, right? So if you're standing in the mirror for 20 minutes making yourself angry, you'll come out and you'll actually be a little agitated. You really will. I mean, it works that way. When you really do anger the proper way, and you get the teeth clenched and the eyes come down and you get really tense, you come out and you're like, oh, I need to relax a little. And if you do that with sadness, you can feel yourself getting down, but you have to practice it. Also, I say your pretext, and this is just a philosophy of mine for social engineering, your pretext should be well written out. It should be written down, and you should practice them. You have a brother, sister, wife, mother, anybody that you live close to, friends, get together and say, hey, here's what I'm planning on doing. How does this look to you? How do I sound? Just practice it. Practice it a couple times until you go live with it. And then don't tell them what your goal is. Say, tell me what you're getting. What's the vibe you're getting from me here? And if they say, kind of like a dejected IT guy, good, great, love you, I accomplished it, That's pathetic enough to get sympathy, So practicing is key for this, because if you just go out and try it, your dominant personality traits, whatever that is, will come across more than the ones that you need to deliver here. Now, if you use, the lady in the back asked the question, if you use different types of pretexts that allow for sympathy themes, then it works really well. Young lady. Excellent question. So out of the mouth of babes, huh? She asked a question that, I need a scientist to answer. So, hang on, let me do some medical research real quick. So her question was, if mirror neurons change depending on your culture, your race, or your family. or if they're more effective when if you're in your family. So the answer to that is, honestly, I don't know 100%, but what I do know from the research study is that mirror neurons are part of everybody's brain. So if they're affected, or if there's larger groups of them based on your culture or your race, I'm not really 100% sure. But the human face is the trigger for it. So because, let's say, you're with your mom and your dad, and you have a familial love for them, then if they're expressing happiness or sadness, that probably would trigger quicker in you than a complete stranger. It probably would trigger quicker, I would imagine, just because of that love that you have for them, that relationship that exists. But I think that the point is that we don't control that. It's not something that we say, oh yeah, my neurons are going off right now. It just happens because we see a human face and it interacts with our brain. The key point I like to bring out with all of this is, just because we can see what someone is feeling doesn't mean we know why. This is such an important point, right? I can't tell you how many times when I was starting out in this type of research, been working with Dr. Ekman for the last 2.5 years, and I've screwed it totally bad, because you look at someone and you can see what they're feeling, and you think you know why. And you think, I do this with my wife all the time. I think I know she's ticked at me. She must be ticked at me, right? Because why can't she not be ticked at me? She's always ticked at me. And and you read the expression, totally wrong. Totally wrong. Yeah, she's mad, but she just stubbed her toe, or she just shrunk something really important in the dryer, or she, whatever, something else bad happened, and she's mad, but it's not at me. So we might be able to read the emotion, but we can't read why. The only way you can link the emotion with the reason is elicitation and questioning. It's the only way you can link those two. So be really cautious as you study this stuff, as you do this stuff, to not allow yourself to be sidetracked and think you can read why someone's feeling that emotion. Where am I at? Okay, let's look at a couple more pieces of proof of nonverbal communications. Okay? What's Dave saying here? Please, please, more. That's what he's saying, okay? Dave is totally satisfied with himself right there. I'm sorry, Mr. X. Dave, Dave is in his true love, and Dave, and we have to finish with this picture because it's just the best. Dave and his love of lemons. It really is the best picture. Okay, other questions that I didn't get time to? Yes, ma'am. Sure. Now, I think the answer to the question is yes. Now, the problem that I have with it is the risk factor. So the risk is that she'll say, yeah, right down the street there's a Kinko's, right? Because their policy states that you're not supposed to insert USB keys. So in social engineering, it's called negating the frame. And anytime you want to join two frames, your frame and my frame are separate, I need to link them, I need to bridge them together. The last thing I want to do is tell you the thing I don't want you to do. So the thing I don't want you to do is recommend me to leave the building. I don't want you to do that. So I'm not going to tell you to do that by saying, hey, can you recommend a place? Will it work sometimes? Sure. But I like to take the safer road and tell them what I want them to do and give them only two options, and both of them lead them down the path of what I want. So that's the way I like to work, but it doesn't always work either. So, your solution could work very easily. Yes, sir. It's called concession. It's one of the 7 principles of influence that Cialdini spoke of, and he wrote about. You start off high. Tell you who uses this all the time is the Humane Society. They give you a call on the phone. This works every year with my wife. They call on the phone and they say, hey, we got a lot of cats we're going to kill. They don't say that, but they're going to gas them. And if you can donate some money, maybe we can keep a few of them alive. Well, how much is your donations? $200. $200. Holy crap! I don't even love cats that much. I pay $200 for you to gas the cats, not to keep them alive. But just kidding, cat lovers. Just kidding. Look, head tilts. Isn't that nice? Okay, but and then what they do is they follow up with, instead of $200, can you do 50? Well, 50 seems so much more doable after you say 200. So yes, as far as social engineering goes, that principle works wonderful. But be careful with the initial request. If the initial request is something like, give me your passwords, then you've put the red flag up high enough that now anything you ask after that's going to seem a little sketchy, right? So that's a good question. I had two. I'm sorry, repeat the question. Yes, yeah, actually one of the questions I normally get, which we'll just cover in case if anyone's going to ask this, is how does this affect if you're a sociopath or a psychopath? This is all normal psychology. Everything we're talking about is normal psychology. When we get to abnormal psychology, there's a whole different ballgame. Sociopaths do not feel guilt or shame. A psychopath finds pleasure from giving other people pain. So we cannot use the same rules with those kinds of people. My honest to God prayer for you is that you never have to do an SE engagement against a sociopath or psychopath, okay? Especially a psychopath. But if you do, my suggestion is run. Don't try any of these things with him. You know, just go the other way, because that's not the right plan. Yes, sir. Mm. Yes. Yeah. That's an excellent question. So if you didn't hear that, you go into an engagement and someone's already nervous, angry, upset, mad, whatever. How do we handle that? How do we get them to calm down, to comply with us? I love the question. Because the way we can handle that is, first of all, if our natural reaction is to get angry back, that's my natural reaction. We really have to work on controlling that because it will come right here. Everything will display right here. We walk in and someone says something really crappy to us, and if our first reaction is anger, now this is anger, that's the first thing they see. And it triggers their mirror neurons, and now we've built a chain reaction of anger, 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 anger. It's going to be very hard to change it. If we can work on that, our first thing we do is we breathe and we lower ourselves. Lowering ourselves is a very humble posture. You think of it almost, I'm not saying we should be like dogs, but when a dog is submissive, what happens? They lower themselves, they roll over, and they show you their exposing parts, and they say, look, I trust you. So we do that. I'll tell you, a big thing is a head tilt, but not too much, not freakish. You can't be like this, right? Okay, so you got it. But a head tilt and a small frown, that can do wonders with someone who's angry. Oh, man, I'm sorry, did I do something to make you upset? Right, so the initial apology and a head tilt. Head tilt is biological. It says, I'm exposing my jugular. I trust you. Okay, I'm not angry with you. I trust you. This is biologically, this is what it says. I trust you enough to expose this very, very dangerous part of me. So we don't know all that. We don't think that, but that's what our brains say. So we do this, and maybe a palm up. I'm sorry, did I do something to make you angry? Right, and we lower our voice. We lower ourselves a little bit. That should calm them enough down that even if they are angry at us, to say, I'm just having a bad day. Just having a bad day. And that usually can calm it down and then move on with your request. Something like that. Yes, sir. 4. How do I use them where? Oh, yeah, so I love that. That's a good question, too. How do you use them when you're the mark? So I don't know about your area of the world, but in my area of the world, we have these guys that come around in pickup trucks, and they strap freezers to the back of them, and they sell meat. I don't know who the heck buys it because, I don't know, meat out of a pickup truck freezer sounds like, you're getting hepatitis A through F just from eating it. So I'm just not, I'm not interested in buying that dude's meat. Oh. I know that's getting tweeted. I just know it. Oh, crap. Why do I even open my mouth? Well, so let me quickly answer. Stop. There's children here. Okay, so let me answer your question quickly. So what I do is I actually do the opposite of everything I'm telling you. When that guy comes, fold my arms, I get a stern look on my face, and right away he gets nervous, and you can tell because he's like, and he gets very nervous, and then I just toy with him and make him realize that his meat is way overpriced and I would never buy it, and then he leaves shortly after. Or you can just be polite, it depends. But when you're the mark in let's say in a business engagement, I reverse all these things. I always put the negative micro expressions on, I definitely get a higher stance. This is a really terrible stance when a social engineer sees it. Someone who's like this, the chest out, the chin up, the thumb displays, like I'm a brick wall, you're not getting through me, right? So I just kind of take that stance. When it comes that way. Unless you're having fun and you want to play with them, then and you know you're the mark, then lower yourself and see how far they can get and give them all fake information. That's always fun too. You ever get those calls from the Microsoft person trying to help you with your computer? I played with those people for hours. It's awesome. Yes, sir. That's a really good question. You see, I guess the way that I would answer that personally is my area of research and my area that I enjoy is this, the micro expressions, using that, and not trying to read. I do read people's faces, right? But I don't try to make that exclusive in a pen test as much as using my own emotional and nonverbal state to influence others. That's the one I always choose. That you ask about using deception. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so now I understand the question more. The difference between influence and manipulation. The same exact principles, but at the end of the day, influence leaves that person feeling better for having met me. Manipulation means they have buyer's remorse. I never, ever, ever want a pen test where the guy feels worse for having met me, because I want to be there next year, and I want to be the year after and the year after. So, yeah, that's right. If I come in and they all feel horrible every time they see me and they remember the last time I was there and everybody was crying afterward and they were psychologically damaged, then they're like, oh no, not that guy again, here's my password, you know? So, I like to do it so it's fair and use positive reinforcement. Also, it helps in the education phase. My pen tests usually follow with education. So I want to be able to come in the company and openly say, hey guys, here's what I did, here's who I was, here's how it worked, and here's how you could have stopped it. And I want them to accept it. And I only do that if they're happy. Not if they're ticked off. So I always go for the positive side of influence, always. Yes. So a couple other hands, yes, sir. Yes, so in the class, which unfortunately I don't have the time to go through all of it, we talk about communication styles. There's something you can look up online called the DISC assessment, D-I-S-C, and it talks about the 4 different types of communicators. And someone who is a very dominant communicator, like a manager, someone like that, if you came in also as a dominant, we're probably going to be very abrasive. We're going to be abrasive with each other. If you can quickly discern what someone is, you're able to then adjust your communication style to be more appeasing to them. So I do agree that you need to be able to adjust quickly. It's difficult. It takes a lot of practice. But the guys who are doing it on the bad side, they become anybody really quick. It's amazing, right? So we need to gain those same skills so we can pen test properly and educate our customers properly. It's a good question, though. Is it time? Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming.